Hello and welcome to the One-on-One podcast. If you're enjoying the show, consider signing up for the Patreon. There you get ad-free content, early access, exclusive episodes, and monthly supporter hangouts. You can find it at patreon.com/the Juan podcast. If you don't like the subscription-based models, there are other ways of supporting the show that are linked in the description. Thank you for tuning in and enjoy this episode.
Welcome to the One-on-One podcast with your host, Juan Ayala.
And Saturn is the planet of concrete 3D physical reality. It's about boundaries and is moving into a sign that has no boundaries. So when you say Project Bluebeam and what is even real, that is something that we're going to be talking about and thinking about for the next 2.5 to 3 years as Saturn is in Pisces. What the f*** is real, right? We're going to have to develop really good boundaries with ourselves, with our psychic space, and with our psychic abilities in general and our emotions. It's going to be a very interesting time for sure. The biggest lessons of Saturn, let me just finish that thought, is, well, how do you be more responsible for this area of life? And how this will affect everybody will be different on an individual level, right? Everybody has an area of their life that is governed by Pisces and by Saturn.
Welcome back to another episode of the One-on-One podcast. I'm your host as always, Juan, and make sure to follow me on social media at the One-on-One podcast, the1on1podcast.com for the Occultist Monday, the comic book, patreon.com/the One-on-One podcast, all that good stuff. Rockfin, you know where to go. The links are in the description. And today, finally, I have a local celebrity. She's been avoiding me for like 13 months, 12 months.
Giving him the dodge.
And here we are finally with Kayleigh. What's up, Kayleigh?
Hey Juan, I'm glad to be here finally. It's about time. It's about time. It's long overdue, but you know what? I feel like I needed that like time in the background to gestate a little bit. Now I'm ready to be birthed as the homunculus on your show.
Yes. The homunculus that you've always been and the homunculus that you need to be. And for those that don't know about you, Kayleigh, can you tell them where to find you? You did my first reading because I do think astrology is fake and gay, but we're going to be talking about that today. And where can people find your work?
Yeah, so my name's Kayleigh. I go by Kayleigh Berkana. You can find me on YouTube. I do have a couple social media things. Telegram is probably the easiest and the thing that I update the most, but it's just at Kayleigh Berkana. Kayleigh, for those that are not watching and just listening, is spelled Kayleigh, and the Berkana is Berkana. But yeah, so I am an astrologer and a tarot reader. I actually got my start with divination reading Elder Futhark runes, so I started with that. And I read natal charts, and I actually have been nerding out quite a bit over worldwide events and the potential astrology that is affecting and influencing those things. So that's been fun to study. But yeah, every Monday I do a live tarot and astrology stream. I call it Moon Day Tarot. So I'll be going live a couple hours after we're done here to do that. And I've also been doing this podcast with the homie Romy. You may know homie Romy. He's been on your show a few times. We call it Moon Mysteries, and that's been a fun one. We're talking to all different types of people that either have their own theory or have written a book or have some kind of insight into one of the mysteries of the moon, whether it's one of the conspiracies surrounding the moon, whether it's a mythological take on it, or whether it's just an astrological take on it, whatever. We're talking to all different kinds of people and looking at the mythology around this fascinating orb that's in the sky. So that's a little bit about me right now.
That's awesome. Yeah, and today we're gonna be hopefully. Oh, I haven't opened it yet. It's still sealed.
Ooh,
The
yes.
revised art. This is the revised Manly P. Hall and Augustus Knapp deck. One of my favorites, which I did print my own version of this because I'm just a fanboy like that. And what ended up happening was it was sort of an experience because I needed to Photoshop every single image and AI enhance it because it had it's all the original deck came out in 1929. So this is a copyright 1929 by J. Augustus Knapp, and they reprinted it once in 2012 and then again in 2022 because I bought this at the end of last year. And when I was going through the photoshopping of each and every single card, I could look at this symbolism much deeper, right? Because when you're working with something, you're inspecting it, and I had to do it one by one. So it took me a couple of weeks to do it. And when I finally was able to do it, I had a more of an appreciation. Now, I know you're not supposed to buy your own tarot deck, but I mean, come on. I mean,
I think that's
all
hogwash. I think you can buy your own deck.
Oh yeah. Also, I also have the Cthulhu deck that is on the way. I actually got an email today saying that in 3 weeks they're gonna start shipping out. So I think it's been probably a year now since I've been waiting for that deck, which is
that's pretty fun. Yeah, so that's really exciting. Honestly, I'm jealous as fuck. I'm excited for you to open that thing, and I can't believe you waited. I'm honored.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I told you. I told you I was gonna
You
wait.
waited for me.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, that's really cool.
So, what got you into all this? Because some people say I'm on the fence still about it. I don't know if it is real. I don't know if it's not. Because essentially, if you're able to, from how it's been explained to me, this is what somebody hinted at one time with astrology, at least, that if they're able to, there's a key in astrology that you're literally able to tell the future or something like that. Is that true, or is that also hogwash, as you Canadians say, eh?
Well, you can definitely pull out themes and patterns and have a general idea of how certain things will play out. There is a specific branch of astrology where you ask a very to the point question, like, will I get the job? Or if I do this thing, how will it turn out? And you can cast a chart for that moment and see some themes and some like very specific and detailed things about exactly what's going to happen, which is really freaky. And it's crazy that it actually works. Anything from like finding a lost item to getting like a detailed report about how a very specific important event is going to go. It's called horary astrology, and it's really trippy. But so short answer, yes, you can see how things will go. Now, that's where I think you run into problems with ethics, because should you be looking at all of the future events all of the time? And then there's this interesting thing that'll happen where you can't ask a second question right away. You have to wait. It'll be the same chart. And I've run into this problem with the cards for sure. When you get into this kind of mode of operation where you're more just focused on something that you want for your own ego, or you just looked up horary astrology, beautiful. And like, let's say, I'm sure if there are any tarot readers or people that even just play around with cards listening right now, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. You'll ask a question, you'll get an answer that you don't like, and then you'll keep going back to try and get a different answer. And then what I've experienced with the cards is it doesn't make sense anymore. Or the cards will start trolling me. It'll give me like the worst possible outcome cards instead of the honest original answer that I got. And I think that that's kind of spirit just telling you trying to gently tell you to, back off a little bit and maybe, check
Fuck off.
check your motives a little bit. You know what I mean? But yeah, and with that, I will say that there are so many different possibilities for each thing that you see in the chart that it is a lot more safe to stick to slightly more general kind of predictions because there are so many different possibilities. And there's a lot of times where you'll see something in the chart and nothing actually happens when that transit kind of perfects, at least in your personal life. It might have or almost guaranteed something happened to somebody else, but you don't always see the results of everything that you see happening in the chart. And you can easily drive yourself crazy trying to. So I like to use a bit of caution and not go too obsessively over something, trying to predict the exact outcome. Because at the end of the day, like, this comes down to fate and free will, and I really think that there's a bit of both happening at all times. There are certain events that are fated to occur, and they will occur, whether you like it or not. But how you handle those events, right? How you respond to them, that's where the free will comes in. And at the end of the day, I can't predict what you are going to do with your free will. I can predict some of the events that might occur, some of the themes that you're going to face, some of the challenges and strengths that you have, some of your tendencies, but the exact outcome is up to you, really, at the end of the day. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, and did I send you the Manly P. Hall movie?
You did, and I loved it.
Oh, you watched it?
I did. I watched it right away. I was like, "Oh, what? This is the shit." Yeah. What a fun movie. Honestly, I had a conversation just the other night. So, all right. So when it comes to astrology, most pop astrologers are all about the sun sign, right? And I don't know if you went into this at all with Dr. Longo, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. I don't know if you went into that with him, but sun sign astrology is the modern Western approach where everybody knows your sun sign, right? Like, you're a Taurus, right? Taurus? Yeah, okay. I'm like, am I remembering your chart correctly? Okay, good. Yeah, like, I'm a Taurus, you're a Taurus, right? But that's just the position of your sun. There's so much more to it than that, and your rising sign is way more important than your sun sign anyway. But yeah, in our modern Western pop astrology, we're all about the sun sign, and we've lost a lot of the nuances that go along with the rest of astrology, like your rising sign and the chart ruler and your moon sign and all this other stuff. And the Manly P. Hall video was excellent. They did talk a lot about the sun sign astrology in that movie, but it was still really fun to watch. And there is a lot to be said about your sun sign too. Like, if you think of it as it's talking about your ego and what kind of things bring you vitality, because the sun is associated with vitality and life force and energy, right? And where you shine the brightest and some of your longer term goals and kind of what you're aspiring to be, then there is a lot of accuracy when talking about it from that perspective. But not everybody identifies with their sun. And there's another reason for that, another rule that they didn't talk about in the Manly video, of this idea in ancient astrology of sect. So there's night and there's day sect. And this is something that I just started learning about really recently. So it's still new to me, but makes a ton of freaking sense. If you're born by night or by day, you play by different rules. So if you're born by day, you would identify with your sun sign more. However, if you were born at night, like myself, your moon sign tends to be more prominent than your sun sign. So it's just little things like that I have been learning about with ancient astrology that are blowing my freaking mind. And really, they bring out so much more nuance in a chart than just basically, oh, you're a Taurus, so you must be stubborn and really love to eat food, right?
Yeah, that's me.
But
you
at
said
the end
it
of the
was
day,
sun
when things get stressful, I like a sandwich, So
Or what's the name of it?
which sun sign?
Oh, sun sign. Okay, sun sign
Yeah.
astrology. Okay.
Yeah. So like
Modern Western astrology.
most horoscopes that you see in like newspapers and whatnot, it's sun sign astrology. So they're talking about things from the perspective of your sun. So, oh, you're a Taurus, therefore stuff about Taurus. But like for example, in your chart, you're an Aries rising. So Mars is much more important for your chart than Taurus and Venus. Although they are still important, they do still play a role. But where your Mars is placed says a lot more about the activities that you tend to do and the areas that you tend to focus on than your Taurus sun, for example.
And when you did my reading,
Oh, I have
I,
come so
I
far
wa-
since then.
I want people
But
to
yeah.
know that Kayleigh at the time didn't know me. And that was kind of probably a bad idea on my part, like letting a person that I don't know do my sign reading, because it's like, I don't know if Kayleigh's gonna do something. I know she wouldn't, but you know what I'm getting at, right? Like it's people can do stuff with your astrological chart, and so you didn't know me, and the things that you said during that reading, and I don't know if it's not, is it generalized? Is it the same for everybody, where you kind of sort of shoot in the dark and you kind of find whatever resonates with you? Because to me, you were so on point with so many things, and I didn't even know you. I had never
Yeah.
talked to you about on my personal life or anything. So I'm like, there's
You
no
had just done the
possible way
H.P.
she.
Lovecraft thing. Was it?
Yeah. So because me and Kayleigh have podcasted before, but never one-on-one. So the you were just so spot on with some things that just kind of blew me away. It's kind of freaky, actually. So now I know if a chick asks you to, what time were you born at, stay away.
Definitely run away. Definitely run away.
Yeah.
That still cracks me up. Oh my gosh. Well, okay, so each reading is 100% unique because each person that comes across you is totally unique. So there are like some things that will be the same if I'm talking about two charts that are very similar, like for example, two people with the sun in Taurus like us. But based on the time of birth, everything in the chart changes. The whole house makeup changes. There's so there are certain things that are kind of generalized, like just the description of the flavors for each sign, right? Like everybody knows what an Aries is, everybody knows what a Taurus is, that kind of thing. Like that's the same. But where the ruling planets are changes, what houses they're in changes, what decans of each sign they're in changes, how that influences the makeup of the chart. Like it gets so detailed and nuanced based on the individual in front of you that it's not just general blanket statements for everybody. It's kind of like, okay, it's actually it's a much more scientific approach than I'm making it sound like right now. But
Yeah. And
yeah,
the
and I
thing
mean,
is,
honestly, Juan, since I did your reading, I've learned so much more. Oh my gosh, I can't even begin to tell you. Um, all of the advances that I've made personally in my astrological practice, I would just it would be a totally different reading. But I mean, some of the same information would come out, but it would just be so much more detailed with more precision.
now you know my social security number, which
No, I can't find that out. Does
like
that
my
make you
email
nervous?
address and all that stuff. So it's like your home
No.
addresses.
No.
I'm feeling like it's so when
The
it
sign
comes
into your biggest
to,
bank account. No, just kidding.
because right now I'm looking at it right now. It says Venus DOM, which I'm guessing that's dominant. Mars DOM dominant, right? And Pluto DOM.
Or in domicile, probably.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm kind of ignorant when it comes to this. Either way, pretty freaky. Now, How does, because right, we get conspiratorial on this show because obviously
Yeah.
they talk about astrology being a pseudoscience. You see that everywhere. It's a form
Mm.
of pseudoscience, et cetera, et cetera. But
Mm-hmm.
the problem with that type of ideology is that ancient cultures, ancient civilizations, the ancient people themselves relied heavily on the zodiac, the stars. They were onto something. Now, if that to them was some sort of belief that they like some egregore that they just held on to and they just kept developing it on and they would just pass it on just because, that's a whole nother deal. But when you see that pattern of them relying on it, there's probably something to it. And Manly P. Hall was the one that I got the hint from, that he talks about, because he talks about astrotheology and all these things, about
Mm-hmm.
how there's a key that if you're able to really dive into the astrology of something, you're able to quite literally tell the future of whatever it is. And that's the big
Mm-hmm.
kahuna or whatever you want to call it. That's the big whopper. There's something
Yeah.
occulted within this science, even if it's pseudo to some. That, according to, I always pull up Wikipedia because I just like to show everybody that Wikipedia is the tip of the iceberg. If you want to go
Mm-hmm.
deeper on whatever, because anybody can find Wikipedia. You Google it, it's real quick, boom, boom, boom. Now, if you want to go deeper, then you can do your thing. But I like to show the exoteric, which is Wikipedia, and then the esoteric stuff, because Wikipedia doesn't tell you the cool stuff. That you got to dig for
No.
that. But yeah, this idea that it's used in ancient cultures. Now, where do the elites stand with this? Because I always quote J.P. Morgan talking about
Mm-hmm.
millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. And I know for a fact that a lot of these elites, though, do cesarean C-sections in order to have people born at a certain time, at a certain day, certain whatever, in order to turn them into a talisman, essentially.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So yeah, there's another branch of astrology. It's called electional astrology, where essentially you look at future dates to see when the most favorable time for doing a certain thing is. And that's what they would be using. So electional astrology, you would use that to find like, okay, what's the most powerful birth chart this baby could theoretically have, right? And time it around that. But you could also use electional astrology for launching your own business, for getting married, for picking a good day to ask your boss for a raise, to plan vacations. And yes, exactly. I love the very first line
To
there, to
ask
schedule
Kayleigh to come on
battles.
the show. Yeah.
Yeah, when's the best time? When I don't feel like a hermit, that's when. But yeah, exactly. So one of the books that I have that I picked up, actually it was gifted to me actually by the spiders community. So thank you weaving spiders. But it's the astrological works of Theophilus of Edessa, and he was quite literally a battle astrologer. He was an astrologer for a famous caliph, and I forget exactly who. I apologize, but he was the main astrologer for this guy. And
Can I correct
as
you,
they were,
Kayleigh?
yes,
It's Theophilus.
fuck off. Okay, so anyway,
Sorry. Yeah, because you put me onto this guy. I actually had him pulled up.
yeah, perfect. Yeah. So anyway, this guy, uh, we have his writings, we have his journals, essentially his works, and he published them for his son, we believe. But essentially, they're a collection of how to tell the timing for when to go into battle, when to lay siege. And there's even things in there about questions for like, will a person successfully escape tyranny? If this slave revolts or if they run, will they escape their master? And like stuff like that. It's really fascinating. But yeah, so like astrology has literally been used for everything from, if I go into battle right now, or if I wait till next week, when's the best time? Will I win the battle? And for a guy like that, he had to be accurate or they would fucking die. Okay, so um and obviously he was accurate enough to lead them through to assist in leading them through many successful battles, to the point where he left his name in history. So literally a battle mage. I think that's the most badass thing ever. But that's me.
And if you're a Taurus, it's like, no, we'll do it next week. And then next week comes, and then you'll be like, no, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it next week, I promise. And then you just keep going because I'm a procrastinator like that. But yeah, this guy, Theophilus of Edessa, I came across him. Actually, it was a weird synchronicity. I'm looking for the book. I was doing
that was cool.
Yeah, I think I showed you. I was doing some research on homunculus, actually. And I came across him on some works of Lynn Thorndike, and I'm trying to find it's the.
Weren't you reading about werewolves that week?
Yes, I was, so this Lynn Thorndike guy has written so many different magical subjects. Let me look him up real quick. I have millions of books. So A History of Magic and Experiment is his. It's a 2-volume series, and he wrote about this Theophilus guy. Let's see. Or actually, I think it might have been on another book, but by Lynn Thorndike, now that I remember. And it was something magic or something. Anyways, this guy is like an OG in writing about alchemy and everything. He translated a bunch of works. But he's one of those guys that if he didn't like something, how it sounded, he wouldn't translate it. So think about that. This is like some scholar who is just translating, where he's just researching and doing research and compiling information together. And if he didn't like something, if he thought it was too blasphemous or too grotesque, he wasn't going to translate it. Or he would write about it and be like, this is too gross to talk about. I can't talk about this. I'm not going to give it the time of day, which that's typical snarky scholar kind of guy, right? Like, oh, it's too good for me type of thing. But think about that when it comes to your history and how much you've probably been, how much has probably been omitted. And I always say his story, right? And I'm not trying to say that to be sexist, but his story, it's or her story, however you want to say it, it's to the victor that spoils. So whoever wins is the one that gets to write what happened. And think about all the times that we remember something incorrectly.
Oh,
now,
a lot.
Zoom out in the macrocosm and how wrong all these historians must have been since the beginning of time, right? I mean, it just makes you think about that.
Yeah.
And so
it makes looking for the origins of anything occult impossible. Like right now, I'm actually doing a bit of research into the first time tarot and astrology were put together and syncretized. And the only information I can find is about the Golden Dawn, and it's like nebulous at best. And like, oh my God, okay. So it's an interesting challenge, trying to find any kind of truth in historical stuff.
So astrology and tarot are one and the same? Is that what they try to get at? Is that why they made their own tarot decks?
They work together. And so I'll give you a quick example. Obviously, all of the cards have some kind of astrological significance, right? Like there's the sun card, the moon card it has the Pisces glyph on it, and that kind of stuff, right? Emperors, Aries, etc. Each of the pip cards, so each of the 2, 3, 4, etc. of the 4 suits, 4 elements. Each pip card, there's 36 in total, and there's 36 decans. So each of the 12 signs is divided into 3 10-degree segments called decans. Each pip card can be assigned to a decan. And this is actually another project that I'm working on that we'll be launching. We wanted to go in March, but it'll probably be June or July at the beginning. Yeah, probably June with the summer solstice that we're actually launching it. But we're going into each of the decans and going really deep into the astrological and magical and Kabbalistic and fixed star associations with each decan. Like we're going really deep. But anyway, so each pip card can be assigned to a decan, and it describes some of the themes of that decan. So trying to find the origin of who decided to link these two together and why. So far, the only information I could find is it's the Golden Dawn that did it first. So were they actually the first to do it, or were they just the first to publish about it? You know what I mean? And where did they get that information from? And what exactly did they bring together to syncretize to put this information out to begin with? Some of it's are sources that we do know about, and some of it's sources that we don't know about. Right? That's thus the nature of secret societies. We might not never know.
And not only that, but I always tell people that magical systems are meant to be modified. They're meant to be used in whichever way you see fit for whatever operation that you're doing. And I mean, we're talking about the Golden Dawn, which they were doing a whole bunch of stuff, and you have Crowley going in there too and switching a whole bunch of things up. And not only that, but breaking away and starting his own thing after the fact. So of course it's going to be different. And now I think even Nostradamus was linked in there somewhere too, where they had like some drawings of his. I'm going to look it up here. They had some drawings of his. I think that was linked to the tarot. I don't know. Have you ever heard about that?
No, but I'm glad you're bringing it up because I need to do more research before we launch. So let's get into it. Let's go.
Let's see here. The Lost Tarot of Nostradamus. Yeah. So apparently,
crazy.
Now, we know Nostradamus was like, I remember hearing about him when I was in, I want to say middle school and high school, how on the History Channel, like Nostradamus predicted the end of the world, this and that. But I'm sure that there are some, because this is linked to Vincent Bridges, a esoteric scholar that I like a lot. He's passed away now, but he was a Nostradamus esotericist. So there was these drawings. I'm trying to find them. The prophecies of Nostradamus, or they might have been named after Nostradamus and not linked to him, had nothing to do with him. But let me see here. Prophecies of Nostradamus. Yeah, but it just makes you think about all these enigmatic figures in history who have made a whole bunch of predictions. And now you were talking about current events and how it's linked to astrology. Do you foresee Project Bluebeam happening or something here come soon? Or what were you getting at by saying that?
Well, coming up in March, there are a few very large planetary movements occurring in tropical astrology. Pluto is changing signs from Capricorn into Aquarius. Aquarius is the sign of like science and networks and all this interesting telecommunications type stuff. And I probably should have started with Saturn, but fuck it, let's go for Pluto first. What we saw so part of making predictions and looking forward is you have to also look backwards at what's happened previously. This is part of the process of pattern recognition and part of the scientific process for going about making predictions in the first place is you need to know what happened previously. So what happened when Saturn crossed over from Capricorn into Aquarius the first time? That happened in March 2020. What happened in March 2020?
That thing hit, right?
Yeah, that thing hit, and all of a sudden we were censored from speaking about it, censored from all.
And you still are.
Doctors and scientists were censored. Exactly. That's why we're kind of speaking in code, right? We were stopped from getting into groups. Aquarius is groups, and Saturn is restriction. So it's like restricting your ability to even get into groups, that kind of thing. So this is a theme that we saw with a major malefic, Saturn, going into Aquarius. Now, Aquarius is also rebellion. Aquarius is also, rebellion. Let's just stick with that for now. So as Saturn moved into Aquarius, we saw all kinds of stuff happen that summer as well, with different riots taking place in various cities for different reasons, right? We had the George Floyd stuff, and all that fun stuff that we're going to just gloss over right now because we don't have the time. But so this is a major kind of like key for Saturn in Aquarius, right? Then Saturn retrograded and then moved back. And as Jupiter came, the Saturn-Jupiter conjunction occurred at 0 degrees Aquarius again. So, boom, another big planetary thing happening at 0 Aquarius. When that occurred, we had the cowpoke mandate start rolling out. So, again, another scientifically themed thing beginning right then at that point. So, as Pluto comes to move into this degree, well, Pluto is about power and control, but also rebirth. So I think with the theme of Aquarius being all about science and technology and all that lovely stuff, and Pluto being power and control, I think a theme that we're going to see crop up even bigger is more of this power and control through scientific means. I mean, they're already hinting at 15-minute cities and climate alarmism stuff, and we're now seeing, I'm sure you've heard about like all the different flying objects that they're claiming to be out there that they're shooting down. Whose are they? I don't know. I think they're ours, or it's bullshit. I don't know. So there we're already seeing hints of what could come with Pluto and Aquarius. So that's just a kind of a small kind of black pill version of that. Now, on the flip side of this, I feel obligated to say actually that whenever we're looking at a transit like Pluto's, or any of the planets really, we're looking at both sides of the spectrum. So what's the worst case? What's the best case? And like, what is the higher purpose of that supposed to be? And with Pluto specifically, it's about taking everything that's corrupt and bringing it to the surface. Everything that needs to be composted, that needs to, essentially die so it can be reborn, bringing it to the surface. So I think we're going to see a lot of stuff about the medical system in general and elitism as well. Aquarius has this knack for being about two different layers of society, right? The glyph is two waveforms, one on top of each other. They're separate and parallel. So I think we'll also see on the positive side of things, I think we're going to see a ton of networks being built out that are parallel networks. I think we've already begun to see that, but I think it's really going to thrive, and we might even be forced into a situation where we have to. But again, at the end of the day, it's about what is corrupt about the sign of Aquarius and the themes of Aquarius. And that comes down to like AI and transhumanism and all this super lovely stuff that we're seeing pop up. And are those things using you, or are you using them? For example, we're talking over the internet right now. We're using Aquarius themed technology. But are you addicted to your smartphone? Right? Like, are you sucked so far into the metaverse that you'd rather live there than in the real world? I think those are very real, pertinent questions that we're going to be answering over the next 20 years. So anyway, Pluto in Aquarius is an interesting and not very fun transit, but I don't think Pluto's ever really fun. It's just it is what it is. And also in March, Saturn is moving from Aquarius into Pisces. So Saturn has a 27 to 30 year transit, so he won't be back to Aquarius for another 30 years. As he's moving into Pisces, we're moving into your Saturn return. I remember that from your chart. That'll be interesting. Pisces is all about, it's extremely nebulous. It's about spirituality and life after death and beauty and artistry and healing. But when does healing occur? Only after there's been some kind of injury, right? It's about isolated places. It's about dreamland, illusions. And Saturn is the planet of concrete 3D physical reality. It's about boundaries, and is moving into a sign that has no boundaries. So when you say Project Bluebeam and what is even real, that is something that we're going to be talking about and thinking about for the next 2.5 to 3 years as Saturn is in Pisces, what the fuck is real, right? We're going to have to develop really good boundaries with ourselves, with our psychic space, and with our just our psychic abilities in general and our emotions. It's going to be a very interesting time for sure. So the biggest lessons of Saturn, let me just finish that thought, is, well, how do you be more responsible for this area of life, and how this will affect everybody will be different on an individual level, right? Everybody has an area of their life that is governed by Pisces and by Saturn. But on a global level, it's going to be more about like, you need to get really serious and mature with your spirituality. I think we're going to see some interesting stuff come out about some of the cult-like mentalities and that we've seen kind of crop up lately. Fanaticism is going to be an interesting topic. Saturn can be a dualizing kind of polarizing energy, and Pisces being a dual-bodied sign, it's two fishes, right? And the glyph is literally two crescents connected, but still two crescents. There's this idea of two-ness in Pisces, two sides to things, right? Or two different things. And Saturn tends to crystallize. So I think we're going to see some really interesting splits, maybe in people's psyches, or maybe even just in how people think about spirituality, especially as it has to do with beliefs. I think you're going to see a lot of dogmatism come up. I think that's actually a really safe prediction to make, considering the rise of like dogmatic Christianity we're seeing in North America right now, but other types of religions too, right? Not just Christianity. I think you'll see that with a lot of different spaces. But yeah, on the positive side of Saturn and Pisces, it's fantastic for like really deep, focused study, right? Disciplined study, right? If you think of Pisces as another realm and isolation, and Saturn is like this old sage, that's the mystic right there. That's the hermit right there. That's the alchemist right there. That's so deep into his studies that that's the only thing that matters. And it's like, no, I really have to be disciplined and consistent with what I'm looking at here so that I can discern reality from fantasy, right? That kind of stuff. So two huge planetary movements that really deserve like several hours long lectures each happening in March. And as it relates to specifically aliens and discerning reality, I think we're going to have some challenges there for sure.
And it's funny that you bring up discerning reality, because I think that's a theme of this show, where I kind of present things and I go, well, does it or does it not make your nipples hard? And I let the audience decide if it does or doesn't. And one of the things that I've been seeing as of lately is the AI art phenomenon, where
fuck that shit.
It's getting so out of hand that you're starting to question, is it real? Is it, because we've always talked about deep fakes for a long time in the community. Oh, that's a deep fake. Or when somebody can't remember something correctly, oh, it's Mandela, bro. You know, they switched it up. They switched it up just for me. The whole universe knew, and the Illuminati lizard people knew, and they switched it up just for me. It's Mandela, dude. So by you saying this is going to make it harder to discern and really fine tuning. And that's why it's so important, because even some people that I know in the community, they literally buy anything that is presented to them, even if you could clearly tell it's bullshit. And that's sort of when somebody is, you know, that's a whole other topic, when somebody's in a reality tunnel of some sorts where they want it to be real, which is fine. But I'm a skeptic. You know what I'm saying? I like to be realistic. I like to think outside the box, but not so, you know, have an open mind, but not so much that your brain falls out, type of thing.
Exactly, yeah.
Right? Keep it a healthy level of skepticism. And this AI art thing, I mean, it's getting good. It's getting really good. And I don't know where it's going to land, because, and another thing is, if they were to present us with some sort of evidence to, and I'm going to be talking about aliens, right? Here's a video of Bigfoot or aliens or Dogman or whatever it is. Here's the video. Well, people are only going to turn around and be like, oh, that's fake. So what is evidence to whatever that gray void? Because there's always going to be those people, oh, it's fake or whatever it is. You're going to have the camp that believes it. You're going to have the camp that doesn't believe it. And then you're going to have the camp in the center who probably doesn't care and is never going to see it. But
they're like, oh, that's cool.
That's, you know, I do believe there are, because one of my favorite realms of really thinking, thought experiments is phenomenology, where it's real to the experiencer. The only real thing is the experience itself. Maybe perhaps not the phenomenon that's happening, but the experience is real. So as long as you're part of that experience, it's real. And how can you take that away from some, right? Because I've talked to people who, I saw aliens. He probably saw, he saw it, right? He probably saw it. I can't take that away from him. Now, I have friends who have shows that they have people tell stories on their shows, and I'm like, man, this person's sounds like they're full of shit. But I gotta respect that, because it's about the experience that makes it real for them. And one thing I've noticed, because you talk about Pluto, and you and I have talked about Pluto before, and I'm starting to see a pattern here. Where on Pluto there is the mountain or whatever was the geographical feature that's named after Cthulhu. There's like one of the mountains on there. Now, some people think space is fake and gay and that the planets are projections or whatever, et cetera, et cetera. Some people think that the planet is flat. That's fine, whatever. Think what you want to think, but just if you're listening right now, hold back on that comment about it being flat, okay? But I came across this book that Thomas and I covered on the Occult Book Club, and it's A Voyage to the World of Cartesius. And one thing that I noticed was he was talking about, essentially the book is the first time they ever use outer space in the science fiction realm. Ooh. The first time ever was from 1619, I believe it was, and then it was published in 1694. I know it was published in 1694 for sure, but I don't know when it was actually written because it was translated. It was translated from French to Latin and then from Latin to English, I believe. I could be wrong. Anyways, we covered it on the Occult Book Club. And one thing,
badass.
Yeah, it's sick. It's really sick because it goes hard. Like it's a book that it connected so many dots with me, and it's a story. Right, a story. I don't think it's a story. I think it's based on true events. They go to the moon by using something, which you can find out when you listen to the episode. They go to the moon, and every single crater that I was able to come up on with a moon map, or with every single crater, is named after a great mind of antiquity. Jack Whiteside Parsons has a crater on the dark side of the moon. And these are people who are living for eternity. Now, I don't know where this stands or what your thoughts on this are, but the idea of using these celestial bodies as some sort of talisman to hold the spirit or the consciousness of these people, because in that book, they visit these places in outer space and they come across essentially schools of these great minds of antiquity that are existing outside the fabric of space and time. And they have their own devotees on that realm. So essentially they break down the different layers of reality, and these elites, most of which have a crater or some sort of celestial geographical thing named after them, are in these realms. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you think that would be possible of capturing and using the actual celestial bodies as some sort of talisman? Because if we look at the Picatrix, right, one of the infamous Picatrix, that one thing that I've learned about talismanic magic is, or any magic really, essentially, is the use of the alignments of the planets or the celestial bodies, whatever you want to refer to it as. And they need to be needs to be done. The magical operation needs to be done at a certain time of the day, certain time of the year, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Do you think that would be possible to use the actual planet itself or something on that planet? You know, they talk about the monolith on, is it Europa or something? What's that one planet that's got like a monolith on it or something? The face on Mars and all these other crazy things. Do you think that would be possible at all? I mean, just thinking outside the box here.
To use the whole planet itself as like an amplification for the talismanic magic, or as a focus for the talismanic magic?
I don't know. Sounds crazy, right?
It does sound a little bit crazy. I mean, I'm kind of into it. I'm like, I just made friends with an astrologer that specializes in elections and talismanic magic. I'm really curious now.
Because
I want to pose that question to him because I don't know.
The thing was that book really opened up a whole can of worms. Like I sent it to somebody and they're like, bro, you just opened up a whole ass can of worms, because it's that hardcore where it's like the implications right now that are happening from this story, if it is true or even partially true, I don't know.
Can you imagine how egotistical you'd have to be like, the moon is actually mine, that whole crater is mine, and that's my magic. Thank you very much. Like, I don't know. So what I keep coming back to over and over again with astrology and with tarot and with esoteric subjects in general is this concept of karma. And I'm like, do I really want to incur that much karma to take that much of a thing and make it mine? Like, that doesn't sound... So there's no such thing as free lunch in the universe. Okay. Anytime you're manipulating anything in order to gain something, you're taking it from somewhere. My question is always, where is it coming from? So if you're an elite, okay, and obviously they're not going to listen to, I mean, I don't know, maybe they got ears on you, Juan, I don't know, but but if you're an elite, right, and you're doing stuff with talismanic magic, making moon children and fucking, you know, trying to arrange everything perfectly in your life, you might not pay for it in this lifetime, but when you die, you're paying for it. You will pay for it eventually. Your spirit will pay for it in some fashion. And maybe stuff will start going wrong in this lifetime, and, you know, all the left-hand paths you want to take can't correct it. But at the end of the day, you know, there's this simple rule of thumb of like, what you put out comes back to you tenfold. And I always think about that. And yeah, I guess that's my be responsible with your magic use, kids speech for the day. I had to get it out of the way.
So
I don't know, man.
Because one of the things you're missing a very strong point, Kayleigh.
Okay, I'm ready.
You're talking about making homunculus and all that stuff. Well, the reason I'm saying even bringing this up is because part of the grimoires that I've read that involve homunculi. Oh, yes. One of the features of a homunculus is that when it's able, its sacrifice is able to shift celestial bodies, and I think that's also a part of what Crowley and all them were hinting at when they were talking about bringing in a new age, right? The age of Aquarius or whatever it is. I think they were hinting at that, the Aeon of Horus, literally shifting the celestial bodies, because transgression, you do the most horrific, heinous shit in order to make it happen. I mean, I think this is because, and check this out, because I think fiction, the realm of fiction is so important, because I'm doing a presentation on the 33rd parallel. And one of the things I came across was this, the telluric currents, right? There are currents that some ancient cultures use to build their entire civilizations. It makes you think, you know, free energy. It makes you think of Nikola Tesla. And in fiction, back to Wikipedia, shout out to Gabe, the main plot of this 1988 novel, Foucault's Pendulum, whatever, by Umberto Eco, revolves around conspiracy theorists who believe that they are searching for the umbilicus mundi, the navel of the world, the mystic center of the earth, which is supposed to be a certain point from where a person can control the energies and shapes of the earth, thus reforming it at will. But hey, it's just a book, right? I mean, these are it sounds wild. Trust me, I know how it sounds. But I think that the realm of fiction is much more real, if that's even how you say it, than our actual reality, right? I mean, look at this. It takes that the Eiffel Tower is a giant antenna. Well, what are they building all these obelisks, and why'd they stop Tesla from building his towers, and the ancient Egyptians with their pyramids, et cetera, and we look at these, how I mentioned earlier, the similarities between all ancient cultures. Well, there's a similarity with their megalithic structures. And I think it plays a role into not only astrological alignments, which we know that's true, but also I think it taps into something much deeper. A lost tech, I guess. I don't know.
You think they're trying to reshape the earth?
That's alchemy. Alchemy is literally manipulating reality, matter, in order to be able to step outside space and time. That's literally the definition of alchemy. When the magnum opus happens, the flash of light from that magnum opus will literally restructure your DNA, and you're able to step outside of space and time and manipulate it from there. And that's what all these guys are trying to do with the homunculus, with whatever else they were trying to do. And the homunculus is just a meat and bones talisman, essentially, is what it is, to augment their magical abilities. But the Babylon
and absorb.
Yeah, the Babylon working and all these other Alamantra workings, all these, there was essentially the same thing. They were trying to bring forth, either tear the space and time, the fabric of space and time, or step outside of reality and become the demiurge, essentially.
Right. Yeah, I guess I bring it back. Well, I don't know. Part of me wonders if, so like you, I had a very Christian upbringing, right? So my mom was like, "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. No Harry Potter in this house," kind of like, right? Like, so what I automatically go back to in my brain is that sometimes I'm like, okay, is that just the devil whispering in your ear to tell you to do these horrible things and damning your soul for eternity? You know what I mean? Like that's my automatic first reaction, is like, no, it's not real. It's just some demons telling you what to do, to make you go to the dark side. Sound like some Sith Lord kind of. But I don't know, man. I think maybe these are excellent questions for your Saturn return, with Saturn going into Pisces, where you can really contemplate this nature of reality. But yeah, I don't know.
Should I be scared for that?
No, you shouldn't be scared. I think it's good. No, you shouldn't be scared.
Because like everybody always makes it seem like it's something really bad. Like, oh, Saturn return, damn, bro.
It's only bad if you haven't been taking care of business.
Buckle up.
Buckle up. Yeah. It's only bad if you haven't been taking care of business. And like so we have a tendency, I think, as humans, to just want to lay blame to outside things, right? Like, oh, it's Mercury retrograde, that's why my phone broke. Well, no, we're using a phone case.
Fucking demons.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's all of those people out there that are fucking up. That's why things are going bad. And I think astrologers and people that are interested in the occult have a tendency to blame things on planets as well. Like, oh, it's Saturn's fault. This is all Saturn's doing, for example. But really, at the end of the day, like I was saying with Pluto, that energy, that archetype, is just bringing something to your awareness that you need to address. And if it's something that you've been putting off, that you haven't been addressing, then it's going to come and be very loud in your face. And that's when things go wrong, right? So with the Saturn return, Saturn's themes are all about responsibility and maturity and discipline and dedication and all of those lovely words. So if there's something that you've been neglecting, right, Saturn's going to bring your awareness to that thing so that you have to take care of it. Now with the Saturn return, there's lots of challenges and obstacles that come up, but some people go through their Saturn return and it was like it was nothing. And I think that those people are just paying attention a little bit more to the areas of their life that require a little bit more heavy lifting. But yeah, for some people, like for myself, my Saturn's in my second house, which is the house of money, resources, values and valuables. And I literally had my income reduced a significant amount, and then actually went through some moments where I had to put on my big girl panties and really take care of myself in ways that I've never had to before. And it was a big maturation process. That's ultimately what the Saturn return is. So it's just about growing up and putting on your big boy pants.
Yeah.
So
yeah, pushing you outside of your comfort zone essentially is what it does.
100%. Yeah, 100%. But anyway, back to the crazy conspiracy topic, which I love. Thank you for bringing it up. I don't know, man. I think I love these stories and I love thinking about it. But at the end of the day, I don't fucking know. And I don't think that we'll know.
None of us know. I mean,
we don't fucking know. I don't fucking know.
And that's why when people are like, oh, well, dude, the world's flat. I go, oh shit, dude, where have you been my entire life? Like you should have just been my teacher in elementary or whatever. Like nobody knows unless you've been there or experienced it or whatever that thing may be. And I always wonder why is it that no matter how you go about life, you can live your life regularly. Some aspect of spirituality always comes up. Something related to something outside, essentially our control, ties into it all, right? Sometimes I'll be driving down the road and be like, why are gods real? Why is religion a thing? Why is magic a thing? Why is the occult a thing? Why can't we just live like regular human beings and not have to worry about anything outside? But I do believe that there are layers upon layers upon layers, and it might be homunculus all the way down. And that's essentially what reality consists of, just a whole bunch of little dudes.
Just a bunch of little dudes.
Yeah, just a bunch of little dudes.
Gross. Yeah, I don't know. I get nervous contemplating that kind of stuff. I don't know. I think it's that's my own shit that I got to deal with. But I don't know, where do I want to go with this?
So I'm gonna bring up here I have this guy pulled up, Nostradamus pulled up.
Oh, you
here.
found it. Excellent.
Well, I found something. I didn't find what I was looking for, but it's just weird. So for some reason I thought he was like Middle Eastern, but he was French. And the Latin, so his name is actually Michael de Nostradamus, 16th century, and usually Latinized. So Nostradamus is his Latin name. He was a French astrologer, apothecary, physician, and reputed seer who is best known for his book Les Prophéties. So it's a collection of prophecies, essentially. And it was in the form of poetry. So let's see here, collection of prophecies by French physician in 1555, and the first edition 3 whole centuries, 53. So the thing that stood out to me was this here. Oh, I scroll down. Occultism. Another visit to Italy, Nostradamus began to move away from medicine and towards the occult. And that's something that you see in these guys back then. They go from the scientifical approach of things to the occult. If you look at John Dee, he was another famous astrologer. He was very scientific, super religious man. And then when he had the biggest library in Europe at his time, he's like, listen, I've already learned all the knowledge that this mundane world has to offer. I need to step outside and get information from some higher source. And that's the famous Faustian pact. How you're saying,
yeah.
What if it is a little demon or a little homunculus in your ear, like, hey Kayleigh, what are you doing? Like, it's like trying to tell you something. Are you gonna take the bait? It's like, I'll reveal to you, how you're saying, your karmic bank. I'll reveal to you all the answers of the universe. you kind of sort of have to give up your soul. I mean, that's not a big deal. You just give up your soul to me and we'll make it happen, right? And so he wrote an almanac too, 1550 for the first time printing, and he was encouraged by the almanac's success that he decided to write one more annually. Taken together, they are known to have contained at least 6,338 prophecies, as well as at least 11 annual calendars, all of them starting on January 1st, and not as is sometimes supposed in March. It was mainly in response to the almanac, the notability, and the other prominent persons from far away. So, asking for horoscopes and psychic advice from him.
He made bank. He made bank. Wow.
Whoa. I want to know what came true from all his prophecies.
Wait, go back up. Hold on. I was reading a sentence there.
Which one?
Go back up. Keep going. A little more. Okay, wait. Right there. It was mainly response to the blah, 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 blah. Though he generally expected his clients to supply birth charts rather than calculating them himself. Savage. Oh my gosh. Okay, sorry. Keep going. Because that's a lot of work to calculate a birth chart by hand. It is a lot of work. So that means his clients would have had to have gone to a different astrologer, paid money for them to cast a chart, and then bring it to him. Like, wow.
This guy was an OG. Nostradamus was a servant of evil. Some people thought Nostradamus was a servant of evil and a fake or insane, while many of the elites evidently thought otherwise. And that's the thing, right? Look, Catherine de Medici, wife of King Henry II of France, was one of Nostradamus's greatest admirers. After reading his almanac for 1555, which hinted at unnamed threats to the royal family, she summoned him to Paris to explain them and to draw up horoscopes for her children. At the time, he feared that he would be beheaded, but by the time of his death in 1566, Queen Catherine had made him counselor and physician in ordinary to her son, young King Charles the Ninth of France, I guess, right? IX. Wow. Okay. So, yeah, this guy was on some shit, man. 6,300 prophecies.
That's a lot.
That's wild. So, yeah, and there's some drawings. I don't think that the ones that I was talking about, I don't think that they're his. Either way, still pretty interesting. Let's see. Popular claims. Some Nostradamus supporters believe his prophecies are genuine. The Great Fire of London. He predicted the Great Fire of London. What year was that? So 1666, of course.
The 6th of September.
The French Revolution, the rise of Napoleon and of Adolf Hitler. Wow. That's both wars and the nuclear destruction of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. What? How? Let's see where this guy got it. Let's see where this guy got his. Where'd it go? The unknown. That's wild. So it's in this book, The Illustrated Prophecies. Okay, I'm not going to read 512 pages, but all right. That's crazy. That's pretty, that's big.
That's what they're claiming he predicted, not what he actually predicted. That's what we think.
No, it happened.
Or what they claimed.
I believe it. He looks like a cool guy. Popular authors frequently claim that he predicted whatever major event had just happened at the time of each of their books' publication, such as the Apollo moon landing in 1969, the Space Shuttle Challenger's disaster, the death of Diana, Princess of Wales, September 11. What? Interesting. Okay. So who knows? What if this guy, Kayleigh, let's take it a step further. What if he figured out a way to affect reality? Like a death note, right? He wrote it down. It's like, hey, this is going to happen. And then it happens. Or the Occam's, what I like to think about is that the human consciousness has power. And I had an occultist tell me that by writing it down, it's being solidified. Because vowels quite literally hold together reality. Okay. That's again, that's Kabbalah, whatever you want to call it, like the relation between numbers and letters. I think it all goes back to mathematics, and that's why Daddy Pythagoras said all is number. And so they told me that one in numerology, and when they write it down, it's solidifying whatever that is. But there's also the aspect of, hey, if you read this enough times, what about a self-fulfilled prophecy where everybody feeds that egregore all together, like, oh shit, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen.
Things like entrainment.
And then it happens. What is that?
So entrainment is this interesting phenomenon where the brain will automatically attune itself to certain frequencies, well, to any frequency or sound or rhythmic thing. So when we focus on different symbols, or when we study different topics, or when we look at specific things, our brain becomes entrained to that thing. So watching movies is an entrainment. Listening to music is entrainment. Any kind of like drumming is entrainment. So what my question is like, let's say you just buy a brand new car, right? And it's a special kind that you don't really see around your town very often. But then as soon as you buy it, all of a sudden you see that car fucking everywhere. And you're like, wait a minute, I thought nobody else had this freaking car.
Fucking demons.
But it's like, were those cars actually there the whole time? Or are you just able to see it now because you've been entrained to that thing? Right. So this is kind of what I go back to a lot is, well, one of the things I go back to is thinking about this. It's like, okay, if I'm looking at the astrology really deeply and I'm looking at the symbolism and I'm trying to pick out what kinds of events are going on, and then I go and look at the news, am I just picking out those things that match the themes because I've been entrained to see those themes? Or is it actually happening more often because of the astrology that's taking place? Like, I don't fucking know. I don't know the answer. And that makes it hard to approach this stuff with like a scientific mind, because you know, just by the nature of us studying a thing really deeply,
you become it. If you stare into
training with it.
If you stare into the abyss long enough, the abyss stares into you. If you investigate monsters long enough, you become a monster. Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Wow.
So I don't know.
Kayleigh,
I think you can really drive yourself crazy looking into certain types of rabbit holes, and I think it's really important that we practice discernment about how much time and energy we spend on certain rabbit holes and in certain areas of study. And I think that is going to be also another important topic for Saturn and Pisces, is how much time, Saturn, are we dedicating to alternate realities, Pisces, and different ways of thinking. And also, like, let's not forget, real quick, just side note, Pisces is about artistry as well. And I mean, are you going to let the AI build art for you, or are you going to go and put your hands onto the clay yourself? Like,
I love that. Be careful how much time you spend in holes. I mean, that's essentially what
any holes.
Any hole can be bad. So I wanted to, I love that. That's really beautiful. But when like, you perk me up when you go, oh, you know, shifting of realities and how much time and different portals, like anything like that, just really like, oh. And I wanted to open this while we were here.
Yes. Speaking of time and portals, fuck yeah, let's do it.
All right, so this is a replica.
For everybody listening and watching, okay, Juan doesn't even believe in this shit, all right, yet. He has his first tarot deck, so this is momentous.
Some ASMR.
You are witnessing history at the moment, okay, friends?
I'm gonna give it a good sniff.
Opening his first tarot deck. Does it smell like paper? I love paper.
The outside actually doesn't smell like anything.
Plastic. No, boo, boring.
So this is a replica from the original deck of 1929. So this is it's got a really beautiful slipcover with that golden foil there. And it's got a sticker like the original, right? The original deck is like $700, and that's why I didn't get one, because I'm like, and even then, I was hesitant to get this one.
Yeah.
So it's got a little slip case there. And then it's got the little, look how cute this little book is. An essay on the Book of
Aw.
Thoth. So prepared to accompany a special deck of the tarot cards in 4 colors by J. Augustus Knappman. This guy was pretty OG.
That is the
And
most
so-
badass tarot booklet that's ever come with a tarot deck ever. Hell yeah.
Look how tiny that is. I'm going to need a magnifying glass to read this. I think I might actually have this essay already, this book somewhere. But don't mind my cuticles. I chew on my cuticles like crazy. It's my anxiety. So got this little booklet, which is pretty cute. And here's the deck. So they are straight cut, like the original. Straight cut.
Ooh. No
And they're not
corners.
They're not like
Sharp.
a big tarot deck. It's standard size.
It's mini. Oh.
Okay, so these look pretty good.
Are they glossy?
No, they are matte. So let's see if we can. Let's get it to focus. So I don't know. They're like kind of semi gloss, I guess. I don't know how you. You see, they're not too shiny.
Yeah. No, that's nice. That's
So-
nice.
So we have the Fool here. You have the. Can you help me here, Kayleigh? Because I
That's
don't
the
know which one this
Magician.
is.
That's the magician. That's okay. That's the high priestess. Oh, she's beautiful. Look at that. Wow. It's the empress.
So I'm gonna say right now, I think this looks a lot better than the one that I printed up.
That's the emperor.
Yeah,
Badass.
looks sick.
That's so cool. Ooh, and the Hierophant. Or the Pope. Le Pep. And then it goes right into... Oh, yeah. No, there's the Lovers. That's
Yeah, the
cool.
Lover's card. The Chariot, my
Yeah, the
favorite.
Badass.
It's a woman, I think.
Oh,
Or they, them,
okay.
I can't assume.
This deck's got Justice as card 8. Okay. And the Hermit.
That's you,
Badass.
Hermit.
Yeah. Yes, so elusive and hard to get a hold of. There's the wheel. That's cool. And then, what do they call it in this one? Strength. Okay, La Force. Yeah. And then the Hangman. Very cool. And then there's Death. La Mort. Badass. Temperance. Beautiful. And then the Devil.
Satan!
Le Diable. That's actually my card. And then the Tower. And then the Star. Very cool.
The little
Moon.
crab, the dogs.
Nice. And then the
Somebody
Sun.
told me there was a homunculus in this one. No, not this one.
La
Whatever.
Soleil. And then Judgment.
Alright.
And then the World.
So what were you saying
Sweet.
about the 11 cards? So that, yeah, the rest are. Yeah, this is a really beautiful deck,
so-
actually.
It is a beautiful deck. Yeah, so the 11 and the 8 in the major arcana in the Marseille deck, they're in that order where Justice is 8 and Strength is 11. And then the Golden Dawn swapped 8 and 11. I think actually it might have been Crowley that swapped 8 and 11. I don't know exactly who. I'm going to have to do more research to figure out who exactly, but they swapped 8 and 11 so that Strength was 8 and Justice was 11. And if you're going in astrological order, it makes more sense for Leo, which is Strength, to be in the 11 or in the 8 position rather than the 11 position, and for Libra or Justice to be in the 11 position. But yeah, it's a weird swap, and the Rider-Waite deck has it in that order. The Hermetic deck from the Golden Dawn, my first deck that I learned on, has it in that order. The Thoth Tarot, Crowley's deck, has it in that order, and yeah. So it's interesting that Manly's deck has it in the original order. I'd be curious to see what he says about that.
Well, I'll see if I have this booklet. I'm pretty sure I have it, and the essay, and I'll send it to you so you can read it. But I'm gonna draw a card,
Sweet.
see what the cards are trying
Yeah.
to tell us before we get the fuck out of here.
Draw a card. Draw a card.
I'm
Draw
shuffling
a
it up.
card. Hey, want to come on my show tonight? Draw a card.
I have another show after this, unfortunately.
Boo. Okay.
But I'll go on. I don't know if I can go on next week. I'll let you know. I'll write to you.
Okay. Next week will be the Pisces Ingress show and New Moon show. So that'll be fun.
Oh.
So next week we'll be talking about the New Moon in Pisces.
Sure.
The Pisces season.
I trust you. Here we go. Ready?
Okay.
Ready? See what the cards are trying to tell us, Kayleigh, before I get out of here.
What is it?
One flew out. I gotta take the one that flew out. Ready? I gotta take the one that flew out. It flew out right at me.
My palms are sweaty. Let's go.
Here it goes. What does this mean?
Is
and
that
it's
the Ace
upside
of
down.
Cups? That's the Ace of... No, it's the Ace of Pentacles. That's badass. Oh, that's cool, actually. Okay, that's really badass. So the aces represent the seed, the new beginning of that element. Pentacles is always something physical. So it could be like a new business relationship, or, you know, like, this is our first one-on-one podcast. So that's kind of cool symbolism as well. Because it's like, oh, the beginning of a potentially good business relationship or something like that. I don't know. I'm pulling it out of my ass here, but seriously, aces is the beginning of something, and pentacles is always something physical. So that's kind of cool.
Oh, so are we gonna get money?
I don't know. That'd be pretty badass. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe somebody wants to book a reading with me after this. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. So hit up Kayleigh for any
happen.
readings. She did mine, and this is so. I'll be honest. I bought 3 of these decks because I don't know when they were gonna. I didn't know when they were gonna print them again. So if they go up in value, I have 3, and
that's an interesting investment that you've made. That's an Ace of Pentacles kind of thing. It hasn't grown in value yet, but it might.
After this is one of the biggest shows on the internet, right? This is one of the biggest podcasts ever. So by me just holding, I'll sign it for anybody who wants to buy it. Yeah. And yeah. So for those that want a reading, a creepy reading of how accurate, and I know at least one other listener of the show, I know got a reading from you. I don't know if anybody else has hit you up, but yeah, it just kind of freaked me out because I was like, I don't even know this girl, and she's like pulling all this stuff that's too accurate. I don't know. So a part of me wants to believe, and I told some people that today in my chat for my premiere that I was going to be doing an episode today on astrology, and they're like, are you getting into astrology? And I'm like, I still think it's gay and fake, but and I'm here to learn, right? We're here to have interesting conversations, and hopefully this was fun for people. I learned a lot, and yeah, it was great.
I think it'll be really interesting for you now. So March 7th, okay? I want you to keep this date in mind. March 7th is when Saturn moves into Pisces. I want you to watch and kind of like just observe what's going on around you and how the conversation shifts in your chats, and how, you know, maybe even some of the guests that you bring on might start suddenly change in some way, or like, you know, you'll see some different world events. Just keep in mind the themes of Pisces and the themes of Saturn, and observe, right? Because this is actually how you learn astrology the best, is through observation. So.
Interesting. So if my wife starts treating me differently, I know it's Saturn's fault.
Blame it on Saturn.
Fucking Saturn.
Just blame it on Saturn.
Yikes.
Oh my gosh.
Well, no. Kayleigh,
don't blame it on Saturn.
We're not going to blame it on Saturn. I remember one time she was complaining about how women have to suffer during birth and they get periods and all this stuff. I'm like, yo, if your girl Eve wouldn't have eaten the forbidden fruit, we wouldn't have been
blame
here.
It on Eve.
You know what I'm saying? We were in the Garden of Eden. We had it good until your girl.
You're starting to sound like Michael Sarian. Stop it.
Oh, man.
I love that man. Shout out to Michael. Oh, seriously.
Yeah, this stuff is awesome. Kayleigh, this is great. You're a ball of energy. I love talking to you. I love watching you. I'll sometimes put on your stream and you know, you have a great stream. So where can people find you? And if they want a reading, where can they go? And hopefully once I get my Cthulhu, I'll let you know if I can jump on tonight. If I can get my Cthulhu deck here sometime soon, we'll definitely do one, because I think that's a sick deck, right? Cthulhu. And
I hope it comes before Halloween.
Oh, definitely. Definitely before Halloween. Yes, I think so. We have to have faith. We have to manifest it. But where can people find you if they want a reading or they want to bullshit with you or get a hold of you?
So best place right now is you can email me, Kayleigh Berkana at pm.me. And again, Kayleigh is spelled Kayleigh. Berkana is Berkana at pm.me. That's the best way. My website will be launching officially very, very soon here. I bought the domain, so I'm really excited about that. I'm going to have a professional page and shit. But anyway, for now, you can just email me and I'll send you a link to my calendar and we can go from there. And yeah, like I said, I'm on YouTube and Odyssey and Rumble, actually, all is Kayleigh Berkana. So come find me.
Awesome. And I'll post the links in the description. Go show her channel some love. And Kayleigh, thank you so much. I know you're a busy celebrity and I know you're avoiding me, but you can run, but you can't hide. So thank you so much. This was fun and we'll have to do it again soon.
I appreciate you, Juan. Thank you. It's been an honor.
I'm feeling what shocks us does a sin. We just love what's toxic and we binge. Think we're free when we're on the fringe. But we're lost, yeah we're lost, yeah we're lost. Ropes full of death and bones. Or all we leave when we chase the most. What we acquire will decompose. What do we want, do we want, do we want? Shadows dance on the cave from our masters. Fires closing in behind us, it don't matter. Puppets dancing to the flicker, hear the laughter. And we just think that it's normal in the past. Become our names into one. With the flames, with the flames. Jesus prayed in the garden while his friends slept. We're just broken pieces to the gold and no missteps. I'm here to break down all your idols, ritualistic. If you don't like it, I don't speak in euphemistic terms. The world is run by Charles Montgomery Burns. They keeping it hooded like CERN. They've done it in thirds before the earth was occurred. And all the friction I'm getting is warranted when your chambers don't echo. The insurance needed for what I be saying don't come from progressive or geckos. And why you popping Prosecco if you ain't putting in labor? I'm taking shots of espresso. Every second I favor more than the last. We never get a return on time lost with the divine laws, but people looking to wrap it like tacos with lime sauce. Hey, I never cared too much what they saying. Matter of fact, what I'm saying, I ain't here to explain it on the levels. All they see, but they don't see my creator campaign of politicians for your souls. No debating, but after the next, I'm calling them Benedict Arnold. I got me a chopper. Most of our collars are blue. Most of us can't even afford one. Lining up for new iPhones and Jordans. It ain't our blessings, and we praying for misfortunes. On others, on our socials, feeling so important. I'm breaking you down. Ain't here to make you feel comfortable. Just avowing the opposite sex while creating the monsters' hotness. These hells we create for ourselves. Timelines are nothing but cells.